Hey crafty friends, Christina here with you from Sunny Day Memories. So today I wanted to go over our new Stampin Positioner that's just been released to demonstrators only at this point. You can get it free this month if you sign up to become a demonstrator. It will be available to everyone at some point. They haven't let us know when that is. I would imagine it's going to be when our new catalog comes out in May. I am going to show you guys 6 different things that you can do with this awesome new tool. So first, let's just talk real quick about what you get with it. So you get your basic platform here. This grid paper that I have on here is extra. I do highly recommend it just because as stampers, right, we can get kind of messy, and this is white, so you might get some ink on it. It's also great to have some lines to line up things. You'll see later in the video where I will be using that as well. You get the 2 magnets. I have actually gone ahead and this is like just something I did just to make it a little bit easier for me to see what's up and what's down, because it's easy enough for them to still stick upside down. They do have these nice little tabs to go ahead and pick them up. But what I did, just in case you're wondering, is I took our Extraordinary Floral washi tape and I put it over some white cardstock, and then I used our smallest stylish shape circle, which I think is a 3/4 inch circle, and I just cut those out, and then I just glued them to the little circles. So as you can see, they're pretty strong. They don't break or anything by coming together like that, but it just makes them look a little bit more fun. You know, as crafty people, we like to have everything be beautiful, right? And like I said, for me, it just helps me know what's up really easily, so I don't accidentally set them down, you know, the wrong way. It still works that way, but it's just easier to grab the little tab if they are the correct way. You also get this additional smaller platform here that you can use for smaller images and to do some other effects, okay? And there is also a little handy how-to guide that comes with it, so that if you have any questions. But like I said, today I wanted to talk about some of the benefits, 6 specifically, and I have no doubt that after you start playing with this that you'll come up with some other ones as well. The first one that I want to touch on, which I think will resonate with a lot of people if you do swaps or make your own Christmas cards, or, you know, ever create a lot of cards. When you're mass producing, it's really awesome to be able to just stamp over and over and over really quickly with this platform. And so that I think is in and of itself a great benefit. The second benefit that we're going to talk about is some layered stamping. All right, so I've got a piece of paper here. I'm just going to use some white. I'm going to use Labeled with Love. I'm going to do the butterfly here, since it is a nice 2-step here, or base and shade, however you call it, where you've got the solid and you've got the outline. I'm going to use Timid Tiger, and I'm going to use the Memento Black. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with the solid image here. So there's a couple different ways that you could do this, and I just want to point out, because I know everyone's different, they have different preferences. You could go ahead, like I was saying, and use this grid paper to line it up to make sure your paper is straight, and then you could stamp by putting your butterfly here, image down. So then you can go ahead and place your platform here into the 2 pegs. You go ahead, and it's not touching it right now. You'll go ahead and press it. It will then pick up that image, and then you could go ahead and ink it up and stamp it. The other thing you could do is, let me bring it closer so you can see, because it might be tough to see. There are, maybe if I angle it there a little bit, a diagonal little corner here where you can actually tuck your paper in. So there's benefits to that. Like if you, sometimes it's hard to stamp straight on, right? Like, so this, if you go ahead and put it in like this, and that's what we'll do here just to show you guys that it's kind of easier, because your arm naturally kind of has more of an angle here rather than trying to go up and down like this. So we're going to go ahead, and you'll see that this will just line right up there. I just want to make sure that the paper was going to be, since I changed it up, we're going to change up where I place that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pick up that and reline it up there, because I messed that up a little bit. And I would recommend using both magnets just so that you have a strong hold. If you have the Stampin' Spots, I think those are actually better when you're working with small images like this, because it's just so much easier with this big ink pad, you can see, to get ink on the edge there. Although that's not going to come off because it's not going to touch your project. But I did want to just mention that if you do own some Stampin' Spots, it may be beneficial for you to utilize those if you're doing small images. Okay, so now it's not touching. I'm going to go ahead and press down, and then it releases up. Super simple, right? Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the outline. All right, so we've already got that stamped. So then all I need to do is go ahead and take my image, place it over my image as I want. So then we can go ahead and again, pick up that image, placing them in the pegs there, push down, go ahead and grab that, make sure that's still lined up in those pegs there, in that diagonal, because we want to make sure it's going to actually line up. See, now I got it all a little off, so let's try this one more time. So it's always good to just double check, right? You don't want to go ahead and mess up your image after you put that work into it. And so it seems like I might want to reposition this a little bit. So sometimes you'll notice that these stamps, these aren't new stamps, but I haven't used them a ton, the butterfly image. They might still be pretty sticky, and so they will stick to your paper. And then when that pulls that paper up, then it might not be aligned how you want. So that's why it's a good idea to, you know, just kind of test it. Let's go one more time over. Yep, that looks good, I think. Let me just double check that. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and ink it up with our Memento black ink. Okay. Oops, and I can tell by looking at it, I don't have enough ink. Although maybe that's good. That's because this is the third thing I want to actually talk to you about, is if you don't get enough ink on it, which you'll see that this won't be enough. Well, it doesn't look bad. Is you can actually, this is like the third one, is you can go back in, because you've already got it lined up, you don't have to realign like you normally would with your Stampin' block and have to look and eyeball and hope that you'll get it back on there. You know that this should go ahead and stamp right in that exact same spot. So even if you did have a nice image, look how much darker and bolder that is, which is also a benefit. So it's kind of the same thing, like if you don't get all of the ink to release, or you just want it to be a really bold image, crisp image, you can stamp it a second or even third time. All right, let's go ahead and we'll use the smaller stamping tool portion here. I'm going to actually rotate mine this way. And what we're going to do is we are going to do a little bit of an ombre effect with some words. And we're going to go ahead with the smaller one. It goes into these side pegs here. And same idea where it's on the springs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my paper in here. I'm going to line it up again on my grid paper just to make sure that I know that everything is straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my, and I'm using the layered dots. I'm going to do thank. Here, I'm going to repeat the thank over and over and over. Actually, let's remove that so we can go ahead and put our word on. Center it on there. Okay. So we'll go like this. So the one thing I will tell you about using this smaller stamping plate is I find it moves just a little bit. There's a little bit of give to it. So I always just kind of try to make sure I'm looking at the lines beneath here to make sure that it is lined up and that I'm not like kind of crooked when I'm stamping. I find that I tend to use the larger one just because I do like that it does stay in one place. There's not any give or anything. But I do appreciate the fact that there's no extra barriers here, because then I can use a really large piece of paper to use this with. But I did want to just kind of caution you on that it does have a little bit of give. So to just kind of be mindful of that when you are stamping so that you're getting your images straight, right? Okay, so I am going to do, like I said, a little bit of an ombre effect. So I am grabbing my Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to do that on the top portion of my thank sentiment. Then I'm going to go in with my Granny Apple right below it. And so the tip I'm going to give you on this is it's really a good idea if you want to not have like a bold barrier between the colors to go ahead and go in with a sponge dauber. And I'm using the Flirty Flamingo again. And I'm just kind of going back over it and kind of going up and down so it's not a straight line. Hopefully that makes sense and you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to go ahead and stick this back on there. Slide this over here so it's a little bit more centered for you guys. And then, like I said, I'm just going to kind of test to make sure that these lines are all lining up so everything will be straight. And then I'm going to push down and let the spring go back up. And so I've got that fun look. But as you can see, I've got some ink that did not release. I don't know if it didn't release or if I just didn't ink it up very well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and line this back up. and we'll test and see if there's any remaining ink that can fill that in. But like I said, it might just be that I did not ink it well, which I think that's what it is. And because this is kind of an ombre effect, I'm just gonna leave it like that because I might get the ink in different spots and it'll turn kind of brown and muddied, and I don't want that. And so then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wash this off, and we're gonna add some more color. Okay, so I went ahead and put new color on it. So I have the Granny Apple at the top and Coastal Cabana at the bottom. So then we're just gonna go ahead and slide down. So we were on the first and second peg, so now we're gonna be on the second and third peg if you want it to be right up against that. If you want a little bit of space, we'll go to the third and fourth, which we'll just go ahead and do that just so you guys can see it better. So it's not right on top of it. And I'll line that back up with those grid lines on that paper. Again, testing to make sure that it's straight because it has that little bit of give. Go ahead and press down and then release. And there you've got another one. So you could go all the way down and you could change up the colors and have that really fun ombre effect by using your Stampin' Spots and the smaller stamping tool here. So I want to add in the little U, so it says thank you, and I want to make sure that they're lined up all the way so that when I go ahead and make my card out of this, that it looks nice and seamless. And that's another benefit of this. If you're stamping with it just on a block, you could kind of eyeball it, you could kind of measure with a ruler and make maybe some pencil marks, but by going ahead and using this tool, you are getting really good placement. So we're going to go ahead again and line that up, and I've got my little U there. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. Oops, I'm missing my holes here. Doing the wrong side. Okay. Okay, got that. I'm going to go ahead and ink it up in my Memento. Okay. Put them on the holes there. Again, just kind of eyeball, make sure that my lines are going straight, down and up. So I've got my thank you there. I'm going to go ahead and ink it up again and do it for the next thank you, or the next thank section. So then it does say thank you. Again, go ahead and put your holes there over the pegs. Make sure that it's lined up so it's straight. Press down, let it spring up. You got your thank you, and one more time. Okay. And there we go. All of them are lined up nice and neat. All right, let's talk about how you can build a wreath using the new Stampin' Positioner. So I've already gone ahead and I've put a stamp image here. You can see on the main stamping platform here. I'm using the large size one. And what I've done is I have actually created a little template to go ahead and do this. And how I've done that is I have used my favorite die set, the Stylish Shapes. I've taken the largest square out of that one, which I believe is about a 3-inch square. And I've gone ahead and I've centered a square, and then I've rotated it on there and cut it a second time. So that's how you get that pattern there. And so what you're going to be doing is actually just changing the square in the center versus rotating the positioner. And so I'm going to show you what I mean here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the grid paper, which I previously said this is an extra item, just letting you know that again. I do think it's worthwhile to have, just like I said, because this is white, and it's good to have something to kind of use to line things up. So I'm putting a magnet on the outside here, and then I'm going to use a magnet on the inside square. So you will, when you do this little template, you will have your square that comes out, and then you'll have the little triangles that will come out. So then if you want to just go ahead and use that same square again to go ahead and create with, you can, and you'll want to go ahead and put a stamp, or not a stamp, sorry, a magnet there to kind of hold that in place. And so I have already started this for the magic of TV here. So you can see I am using a small little image. I think I did not show you what this is from. This is from the advent calendar that we had. I'm using this little one right there. You can use any little image that you have that you'd like to use. And then you're gonna go ahead and you'll line up those little pegs in the holes again. And as you can see, it already lines up with one of the ones I've done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rotate my square, again, making sure that it's all lined up here with the grid paper, because that way then you know it's going to go ahead and line up when you stamp it. So if I just do like a test run here and put this back on here, you can see that my stamp image here is the next one that I need to go ahead and keep creating that wreath shape. So what I do recommend is if you have the little Stampin' Spots, these are perfect for when you're working with the larger one. I just feel like it's really nice and easy to not get extra ink when you're using this little small stamp on this big platform. So then we're gonna go ahead, again, line it up with those holes. Make sure it's right there. Just go ahead and press down, lift up, and you've got your next portion there on there. And then you'll just go ahead, like I said, and rotate your square right there in the center. And you can go ahead and test it if you want and see that that stamp is going to line up and be the next one in there. So it couldn't be easier. You're just going to continue and it's going to have that nice wreath image. So we're on our last one. You can see there, I just wanted to show you how it all comes together. So I've got it inked, pressing down. Love that spring action. And there you have it. You have a nice wreath image from this fun template. Okay, so let's talk about the 6 benefit of using this Stampin' Positioner. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back this way because we're going to use the larger stamp plate for this one. So we are going to do mirror stamping. So if you've not heard that before, perhaps you have a stamp set where you don't like the direction of the image. You need to be going the opposite direction that it is. This is what mirror stamping is. So we're going to go ahead and use, this is from last year's celebration. We're going to use one of the little seagulls here, and we're going to change the direction of him. So normally when we stamp him, his beak would be facing to the right, but we're going to have it so that his beak is actually facing to the left. So in order to do this technique with the Stampin' Positioner, you will need an additional item. You will need to get our silicone craft mat, or if you have something else similar to this, you can use that as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be ours from Stampin' Up, but this is what I am using. So I am going ahead and I am lining it up again with my grid paper. As you've seen, I think almost with every single tip that I've shown with you today, I have used the grid paper, so I do think it is worthwhile to go ahead and add that on when you do go ahead and get your Stampin' Positioner. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and put down our little seagull here, just like we normally would. We're going to go ahead and put it in the pegs here so we can go ahead and punch down. And so now we've grabbed our little stamp image. We are going to go ahead and ink it up, and then we are going to stamp it on the actual silicone mat. Okay, I'm using the Memento Black ink, and I think I will likely go ahead and stamp this twice just to make sure I get a nice dark image. So we've got one on there. Let's do a second one just to guarantee that we've got good coverage. Right, better to have a good image than mess it up. Okay, so we know that that's in the right spot. We're gonna go ahead and press down, press up. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put my cardstock right on top of that. So I'm going to go ahead and move this magnet over here. I am going to go ahead and place a piece of cardstock down. I'm going to put my magnet here. I'm going to grab my plate again. And actually, I'm going to wipe off my stamp image real quick before we do this. So you don't necessarily need to wipe off your stamp image, but I'm doing so just because we're going to use the weight of that stamp image to go ahead and press so that the ink from the mat is going onto the back side of that cardstock. Okay, and so if you still had ink on there, then it would be on this back side, and maybe it would bleed through, maybe it wouldn't. But you can see, oops, I kind of squished a little bit there. So it's a little bit fuzzy, but maybe that's okay because of the feathers. But you can see now that he is stamped the opposite direction than he would be normally if you went ahead and stamped him just directly onto the cardstock, just by using the positioner and your silicone craft mat. So there you have it, 6 different things that you can do that the Stampin' Positioner is awesome for. We have the mirror stamping that I just showed you. We have that wreath building where I showed you how to create your own little template to do it, to have it be successful every time. I showed you how if you miss a little bit of ink, you can ink it back up and stamp it perfectly for nice, bold, crisp images. I showed you how you can do that 2-step stamping, whether or not you call it two-step or base and shade. Let me show you guys the theme. So this is the base and shade or the two-step. And then we have our wreath that we made. And what else was it? Oh, the ombre effect. I showed you the custom ombre effect and how you can have that perfect placement if you're continuing the sentiment there on your, so like if I do a full card of this, those are all perfectly aligned. Very nice. And then last, one of the things I think people use it for a lot is mass producing cards. So if you need to make a bunch of birthday cards, a bunch of Christmas cards, a bunch of thank you cards, like for graduation coming up or something, it's perfect for that. So I hope that these have helped you. And like I said, this month, the month of February, if you sign up to become a demonstrator with Stampin' Up, I'd love to have you join my team and get one of these for free. And that goes in addition to your awesome kit where you get to choose your own items. So be sure to leave us a comment and let us know which of these techniques was your favorite, or maybe which one was new to you. That we'd love to find that out. And be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so that way you don't miss future videos. And until next time, stay crafty.